I would like to talk to you today a little bit about bullying. Bullying is an epidemic that affects everyone that you know. Ultimately, the reason why bullying affects everyone is by the time a child enters first grade, typically about 80% of all children say that they have a pretty high self-esteem. By the time they hit third grade, only 20% of those students still say that they continue to have that high self-esteem. The reason why this is by the time a child graduates from high school, they've been picked on over 50,000 times. Ultimately, through training like martial arts, they understand different ways on how to deal with bullying, and we're going to talk about that today. Bullying is a situation where one person creates some type of situation where the other person is feeling less about themselves. There's lots of different people that are responsible for bullying. The first person that's responsible for bullying is the person that's doing it themselves, the obvious person. The second person that's responsible for bullying is the bystanders. These are the people that are standing around letting it happen and not doing anything to stand up for them. The third person, which we don't typically see as part of the problem, but really is the victim themselves. This person is sitting back, becoming a victim, not doing anything about it, not standing up. In martial arts, with children from a young age, they learn how not to become a victim. And the fourth person that's responsible for bullying is the authority. This is someone that allows a culture to be created where teasing, treating others poorly, and not having a general sense of kindness is something that is pervasive in that environment. So in those types of environments where treating other people well is not honored, this is where these situations are going to come up more and more. The next thing I'm going to talk with you about is the fact of what exactly is bullying. What are the types of bullying? We already talked about the fact that it's power difference, but there's 4 different types. The first type is physical. This is getting punched, getting kicked, getting shoved in a locker, getting your things broken. This is all considered physical bullying. The next one is verbal. This is name calling, yelling, getting other people to say things to others. That's ultimately what verbal bullying is we're talking about, saying things to make someone feel less about themselves. The third one, which is kind of the bigger thing that's happening right now, is what we call cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is something that happens now in our society that didn't happen in the past. Typically, 10, 15 years ago, a child would be able to go home and eliminate themselves from the bullying situation. They wouldn't have contact with that child or that person until the next day. Now we have things like Facebook, we have Twitter, we have texting, we have lots of blogging, a lot of different ways that our children can constantly be in contact with each other. And they're starting to get access to these things at such a younger age. There's so many children on Facebook before they even leave elementary school without the understanding that once something's on the internet, it's always on the internet. And the fourth type of bullying that we're going to talk about is relational bullying. This is typically seen with girls, but typically what happens is there's a center. They decide to make it where they ask everyone else to treat another person poorly, and they'll bully those that don't do what they're asking to do. So they create an environment where other people are told not to treat each other well. So this can go very, very deep, and again, it's with girls. It's something that some boys do, but typically we see girls doing it quite a bit. Now typically there's a couple of different ways that people deal with bullying. Some are positive, some don't work so well. The typical way that we see children that haven't had things like martial arts training, haven't understood that there's tools that you can use, that haven't had the chance to practice these things, typically we're going to find them acting out themselves. We're going to find them trying to retaliate the situation, maybe act out in violence themselves. You're going to see a lot of sadness, you're going to see a lot of anger, and they're not really going to know what to do with it. So that's one way. If it's working, great. But for the most part, we find that these children are having a very, very difficult time because they're not given the tools. The second way that we try to deal with bullying is creating an unshakable self-esteem that no matter what happens, those children understand that no matter what anyone says or does to them, it really doesn't affect who they are as a human being. This is what you get when you're enrolling your child in a martial arts training program. From such a young age, these children are given the opportunity to practice these tools in a safe environment and understanding what exactly it means to be bullied, what exactly it means when it happens, and how they can respond in a pro-social way that's going to help alleviate the situation, as well as force them to not be targeted as a bully victim in the future. So when you start your child in a martial arts training like ours, you're going to see the fact that they're learning these skills that they can learn from such a young age, that when they come in contact with these types of situations, they're going to be able to spring into action, know exactly what they need to do, as well as be that leader, that hero in other people's lives and situations. In conclusion, bullying's not going away. It's an epidemic that is still facing us, and it's not something we're going to sweep under the rug. Ultimately, all parents want happy, cheerful, confident children. When you enroll your child to a martial arts training program like ours, you're not going to be teaching them something as simple as just kicking and punching. You're enrolling them in a program where life skills are built in and giving them the opportunity to become those happy, cheerful, and confident children that you were always hoping for them for their future. Ultimately, giving them the gift of martial arts is the best thing that you can do for your child.